Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Star Wars Doctrine. I'm your host Logan, and with me as always is my good partner Cody. How we doing today?
Lovely.
Lovely. That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
So today what we got planned for everyone is the Skywalker Saga. We got to watch the whole Skywalker Saga, so that's episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, not Solo and Rogue One, in theaters. Our local chain was doing a promotion where you got to watch all of them the day that 9 came out. It was really cool. It was a 27 hour experience. It was really long, but we got breaks in there. But we wanted to talk about kind of what that was like, some of our observations from watching them, because the last time I got to watch most of those films was between 10 to 20 years ago, depending on which film.
Oh, on screen, yeah.
On screen.
Absolutely.
So, I've watched them like daily, basically. But so I wanted to talk about that because it was a definitely unique experience and different than watching it at home.
Oh, for sure.
So overall, if you were to ask to do it again, like, okay, hey, it's next week, do you want to come watch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 for 27 hours again? Would you do it?
Dude, absolutely. I would do that anytime. I thought, like, coming out of it, I was like, okay, after we do 27 hours of straight Star Wars, I'm probably going to walk away thinking, like, I could go a while without watching Star Wars. But I was, like, ready to go right back in. Like, it was that awesome.
Yeah, for me, when I was thinking about it, I was like, when we're getting ready to go, and I was like, okay, 27 hours, it's going to be a really long day, going to be super sleep deprived, because, I think by the end, I had went almost like 40 hours probably with like an hour of sleep.
Right.
But just thinking about it, I was like, it'd probably be really cool, and I'm glad I'll do it that one time. But, overall, like, marathons are kind of nuts sometimes.
Yeah.
But I would go back again literally next week. It was an amazing experience. It didn't feel super long and exhausting. Like, I was tired, but
every time one of the movies ended, I was like, yeah, we're already, like, we're moving along. Like, they all went fast.
Yeah, when we finished the prequels, I was like, oh my gosh, we're already done with those? Like,
I know.
That's terrible. There's only 6 movies left, which is still like 15 hours.
Yeah. It was overall just a great experience, and I'm super happy that Harkins put that on. They were really cool. They gave us breakfast, and it was fun. They even had like news channels there and stuff.
That was
who
right.
were, like, interviewing some people. You had, just being around nerds like us. Like, I remember like sitting in the theater, and I actually like out loud was like, man, all these people here are a bunch of nerds. But it was like so funny because I was like, these are our people. Right? Like, there
you go. Yeah,
there's people dressed up in full Jedi costumes.
There's some 501st people out there.
There was that we met an Imperial officer who was part of the 501st, and it was just awesome.
We had cool people right around us. That was kind of fun. You got to make friends with everyone.
If you haven't seen as well, there's a highlight on our Instagram, of just us talking like live during the experience and how we were feeling and when we were getting tired, and it was a really cool experience. They had some of the replica lightsabers there that you could play with between the breaks. And
yeah, so if Harkins does that again, I'll go back right now.
Oh, absolutely. Worth every penny.
Yeah. And honestly, like, we want to talk about some of the things that were different about getting to do that. I guess one of the things I want to say is just from the get-go, it's so different to watch episode 1 or episode 3 or any episode one time. I can turn on Empire any day of the week,
right? And
I will be like, that was fun, I liked that.
Yeah.
But to watch 1 through 9 or to watch any of them kind of back to back to back, it's so different. It carries so much more weight. You start to notice more connections. Doesn't matter how many times I watched 4 or 5 marathons of Star Wars,
right?
As it's expanded throughout the years.
And stuff, yeah.
But it's so different to get to watch all of them and that weight that it carries, and you're like so much more invested. And that was probably the coolest way to go into episode 9.
It really was. I don't know. Like, even a marathon of just 7, 8, and 9 would have been cool.
Right.
But the fact of having all 6 before the sequel trilogy leading up to it really was cool. Because, yeah, you really did start to notice, like, the continuity of it all. And, just the way that they all talk. It's something that I can't think of another saga like that, or another thing in the world as cool as that, where you could sit down and watch them all like that and it would just flow that well, like, especially for that many movies,
Right, that many movies through 42 years. and the continuity, how much things are kept up in between each film, in between each trilogy, which is separated by basically like 20 years between each trilogy.
Yeah.
I guess the prequels versus the sequels is shorter, but we're talking 10 years in between each trilogy, and that's so cool.
Yeah, and too, like the fact that the one thing that's really cool about it to me is that the fact that they did 4, 5, and 6 first, obviously, went back and did 1, 2, and 3, and then 7, 8, 9. Watching them all like that, it never felt like, oh, now you can tell a big quality difference in the films in 4, 5, and 6 because they're way older. Like, obviously, there is that, like,
it's definitely
there's a time difference, but it's so well done, and the way even the prequels pay homage to the originals, like it still flows.
The technology in the films is very similar,
right.
like not used to shoot it obviously, but like they're using you can see the computer screens in like episode 1 or episode 3, and you can kind of see maybe get a little better, but it's getting a little better towards what they used in like 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I love the consistency of like the targeting computers between the films. Right. That part is like so cool. The
Falcon especially, like that one's very cool. And then just seeing like the fall of the Empire and then going into the rise of the First Order was interesting because like obviously there's a big gap, and if you don't read some of the comics and the stories and stuff between 6 and 7, you won't really maybe understand fully how the First Order started rising.
Right.
But to see like the end of the Empire and the rise of the First Order and see the influence the Empire had on the First Order just back to back to back like that was really cool. I caught a lot of things where I was like, yeah, they're really outside of just the fact that they have stormtroopers as well and a supreme leader who's like an emperor, and it was very like every little thing was influenced by the Empire. They were like, and that makes sense now that we know that really Sidious was pulling the strings the whole time, right?
Right, it really does, and I think that kind of makes sense. I think at first everyone's like, wow, this is basically just the freaking Empire, and it's like, well, duh, Palpatine engineered it. That makes sense.
Exactly. Well, and then that reveal as well, like obviously going into watching the whole marathon, we knew Palpatine was going to come back in episode 9,
right, to some extent, for sure.
Right, we just didn't know how much, and that he'd be Rey's grandpa, and but watching his involvement in 1 through 6 right before we watched the sequels really made you go, yeah, that this makes sense, like that he would still be pulling the strings, like he's been the main guy through it all.
I do agree with that. And then I think something to me that is such a cool thing about Star Wars, and is something that I do think people take for granted maybe with George Lucas, is besides the fact that the man engineered basically all of our hopes and dreams and created this amazing universe, and then went back and messed with the universe a little bit in subsequent editions. But he really put so much detail in stuff. Not with just the continuity that we've been talking about, where you can see 1 makes sense with 4, 2 makes sense with 4, 3 makes sense with 6. It makes so much sense, but there's so much details. And on the big screen, that was one of the coolest things. We'd always be like sitting there like, oh my gosh, you see that in the bottom right corner?
True.
It's on your TV, it's like this big. But on a big film, on a big theater film, it's, about like that big. And it's some really cool scene just in the background where there's a Jedi talking to this guy that you never would see before. And there's so much in the background happening that's so interesting throughout every single film.
Yeah, I wish I could remember some of the specifics, but there was definitely a couple things where like me and you were like tapping each other like, dude, did you know that was there? And we were like, no, what?
I saw a whole new species of droid that I've never seen before in episode 1.
In episode 1, the little dudes running around.
They look like the freaking Pixar lamps.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was one of them, and just like so many things like that you're like, wow, this is like such an immersed universe.
Right.
It's so like
like great. When you watch episode 3, you can see the Falcon, which actually might need to be retconned with how the Falcon's supposed to look at that time period.
Yeah.
But like it was totally the Millennium Falcon when they're pulling into Coruscant right after the battle above Coruscant. You can see it, and it's really cool. You
can really see it in the theater.
You can definitely see it in the theater.
Yeah.
But like things like that exist throughout the entire film.
Yeah.
Or throughout the entire saga, and that was one of the biggest things to me, is being like, oh my gosh, like that's really cool. Like, oh, you could see Boba Fett in that corner that you didn't see him before.
Right.
So that was really interesting to me.
Lots of good stuff with that.
So yeah, I would definitely encourage everyone to go and see them in the theaters. I don't know how you can, but
Yeah, if there's ever an opportunity, take advantage of it.
And then I think just the emotional impact of getting to see all of them was really special to me. I remember like when we actually did one before, probably like 5 years ago now, where we did 1 through 6. It was before 7 came out. It was actually shortly after the announcement. The trailer dropped at the Chicago celebration.
Okay, yeah.
And we were like, all right, let's do them all. And we just spent one day from like 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. and just watched them all. And it was a pretty like kind of emotional experience in watching the rise and fall of Anakin and watching his son pick up the slack. And I think now I would love to do it again. It's terrible to say, but like I want to go watch 1 through 9 again, because like now that I know how 9 ends, there's so much more to look for in the other films.
Yeah, especially the sequels too. Yeah, just to see knowing how something ends can kind of change how you view it, right?
Right.
That's absolutely true. So
that's what we wanted to talk about with y'all today. The Rise of Skywalker Saga is now complete, for better or for worse, and definitely for being sad. But go check it out and watch it all together if you can. Do a marathon with your friends. It's really one of the coolest experiences, especially to get to talk with each other and be like, did you see that? Did you see that? Definitely watch it loud and definitely point out cool things to each other.
Yep, one of the coolest, nerdiest experiences of my life.
All right, so thank you, and this is Star Wars Doctrine. May the Force be with you.